Many of us already know about mud fossils, or what are said to be natural rock formations, being the remains of giant and large animals, as well as those supposedly natural rock formations that are giant trees or the giant tree stumps. But today I want to cover the topic of mushroom mud fossils, which are mushrooms or giant mushrooms that got turned into stone. I think these stone formations that look like mushrooms used to be giant mushrooms in the past, but are now petrified and only remain as stone. Like, if you look at this picture right here, you can even see the top part looks like a mushroom top part. And then this part down here also looks like a part of a mushroom. Like what can be seen here. The top parts of the mushroom, then this part down here. I think this proves that the rock formation is actually a petrified giant mushroom. There are actually many types of rock formations that look like this, which are sometimes known as mushroom rocks or given other names. Yet can be found in many different parts of the world. If we look at some of them, the part that's the lower part of them is a different color than the top part of them, like we can see here. With examples like this. Reminds me of how the top parts of some mushrooms look a different color, look like a different color than the lower part. Some of these images, like this one, Arizona, you can even see the rock making like lines up into this part. Then we look at mushrooms like this and see something similar. Next we have this other one in Arizona that also looks similar. If you are thinking mushrooms can't grow to such a big size, then I will be sorry to tell you that you are wrong, because mushrooms have been proven to grow to very large sizes. Like we can see here, this might look like multiple different mushrooms, but they're actually all connected underground, because the underground part of mushrooms that grows multiple different mushrooms is actually very long, and they can grow for underground for very far distances. The world's largest organism, or one of the world's largest organisms, is actually said to be a mushroom, or what is called a honey fungus, because it goes underground for what it here says 5.5 kilometers across, or that's around somewhere around 3 miles. This underground part of the mushroom going that far. So this proves mushrooms can grow to a very large size. The individual species of this type of mushroom is actually the one that's the largest in the world. It is found in the state of Oregon in the United States. Those in the academic community will actually tell you that giant mushrooms or large fungi existed in the past, but they claim it happened millions of years ago when they existed. Here you can see somebody with a fossil of one of them, and they call them prototaxites, and they claim they existed millions of years ago. But I think they actually existed only thousands of years ago, or much more recently, maybe even hundreds of years ago. Perhaps some of them still exist, unlike what they claim. Seeing stuff like this, maybe the smaller mushrooms get petrified too. This image here is a mushroom-shaped rock found in a creek in Ontario, Canada. Science will even admit that petrified wood exists. Of course, many people will say it's some type of fossil or something else that is how it formed, but I think it formed another way than what they claim. And this is related to the mud fossils and giant tree stumps. A place in South Dakota in the United States actually has some of this petrified wood. It is known as the Badlands or Badlands National Park. So since the petrified wood is related to the giant tree stumps, it makes me think. The petrified wood in the Badlands is also related to the large mushroom-shaped rocks also found in the Badlands. Like what can be seen here. Plus, in the Badlands, there are examples like this here. Plus, we got stuff like this. I think these formations are more than just stone, and something that existed in the past as its own species. When people think of the forbidden fruit tree mentioned in the Bible that's in the Garden of Eden, they often think of something like a wooden tree or something like apples or some other type of fruit. But the Bible does not necessarily say what type of fruit the forbidden fruit is. And I think the common depictions of the forbidden fruit tree are incorrect. Because there are less well-known depictions, like the one found in this chapel from the 12th century in France, of the forbidden fruit being a mushroom. And here you can see Adam and Eve near the forbidden fruit tree, which is depicted as a mushroom. Not just a regular mushroom, but a giant mushroom. Maybe this is related to psychedelic mushrooms because the forbidden fruit is said to have affected Adam and Eve in some way related to knowledge that might be spiritual in some way, since those who take psychedelic mushrooms sometimes say it can make them see into the spiritual realm and see spiritual entities or have their consciousness change somehow, similar to how Adam and Eve were changed when they ate the forbidden fruit. If I'm remembering correctly, some of these concepts or related concepts are explored in books like The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross and Food of the Gods. But something that the author of this book talks about is what he thought, and there's supposedly evidence for this, about early humans, the brains of early humans being changed by psychedelic mushrooms. This is sometimes known as stoned ape theory, and there's a Wikipedia article here you can read about, and also in the book and stuff, but it seems similar to Adam and Eve, because Adam and Eve were early humans and they were changed when they ate the forbidden fruit. So these psychedelic mushrooms changing the brains and maybe bodies of early humans might be related to them, changing their consciousness in a spiritual way somehow. Since Adam and Eve were early humans, or the first humans, they say. Additionally, we can find depictions from the Middle Ages and other time periods of Jesus and other biblical figures, as well as different historical figures and creatures with giant mushrooms. Keep in mind there are different types of mushrooms, and some of these depictions look like the different types of mushrooms. There are some that look more like umbrellas that more people are probably familiar with, And then there are also other types of mushrooms that kind of like have a round part on the top. They look kind of like this. Well, now that that's out of the way, let's look at some of these depictions. More depictions of the forbidden fruit with Adam and Eve that look like a mushroom or some type of fungus related to a mushroom can also be found. Next, I want to show many of these rock formations that are shaped like large mushrooms from across the world. Let's see them.